Have you ever had a neighbor who seemed determined to make your life miserable? Not because you were loud, not because you broke the rules, but simply because they believed they had the right to control everyone around them. Well, that's exactly what happened to me. My name is David Carter, and my wife Rachel and I had lived in our home for almost 8 years. We loved our neighborhood. It was quiet, family-friendly, and the kind of place where people waved to each other during evening walks. At least, most people did. Across the street lived Karen Miller. From the day we moved in, Karen acted like she owned the entire neighborhood. She wasn't the HOA president, but you'd never know it by the way she behaved. She constantly walked around with a clipboard, taking notes about other people's homes. If someone's trash can stayed out an hour too long, Karen noticed. If someone parked a truck in their own driveway, Karen noticed. If a flower bed wasn't perfectly trimmed, Karen noticed that too. At first, I ignored her. I figured every neighborhood has that one person who takes things a little too seriously. But before long, Karen's attention turned toward my family. The first complaint was about my mailbox. According to Karen, the numbers weren't reflective enough. I replaced them. A week later, she complained that my garbage can could be seen from the street. I moved them. Then came complaints about my lawn, my driveway, my outdoor lights, and even my basketball hoop. Every complaint was investigated. Every complaint was dismissed. Still, Karen kept filing more. By the end of 6 months, she had filed 11 separate complaints against my property. 11. One Saturday morning, I was mowing the lawn when Karen marched across the street carrying her clipboard. She didn't even bother saying hello. Instead, she pointed directly at the wooden fence separating our properties. "That's on my land." I shut off the mower and looked at her. "I'm pretty sure it isn't." "It absolutely is. I've lived here 20 years. I smiled politely. When we bought this house, we received a certified county survey. Karen folded her arms. "Then your survey is wrong." I honestly didn't know whether to laugh or argue. Instead, I offered to show her the paperwork. She refused. "I don't need paperwork. I know where my property is." By Monday morning, another complaint had arrived from the HOA. That was complaint number 11. I placed the letter on the kitchen table. Rachel looked at it and sighed. "Another one." I nodded. She poured us both coffee before asking the question that changed everything. "So, what are we going to do?" I looked out the kitchen window toward the fence. "I'm done arguing." She smiled. "I was hoping you'd say that." That afternoon, I called the county recorder's office and requested copies of every document connected to our property. The original subdivision plat, the deed, previous surveys, everything. Then I hired a licensed county surveyor. 3 days later, a white truck pulled into my driveway. The surveyor introduced himself as Michael Brooks. He unloaded several GPS instruments and began reviewing the legal description from my deed. Karen spotted the truck almost immediately. Within minutes, she walked outside carrying her phone. She started recording everything. Michael simply smiled. "I get this more often than you'd think." For the next 4 hours, he measured every corner of the property, every distance, every marker, every boundary. Karen interrupted him 3 separate times. "You're measuring from the wrong place." "No, The county records determine the measurements." She wasn't happy. Late that afternoon, Michael drove a bright orange survey stake into the ground beside my fence. Then another. Finally, he walked over holding a folder. "Mr. Carter." I looked up. "Your fence is entirely on your property." I couldn't help smiling. He handed me the certified survey. "This document is legally recognized by the county." I thanked him. Honestly, I thought that would finally end the dispute. Instead, Karen filed another complaint. This time she claimed the survey itself had to be wrong because she'd lived there longer than the surveyor. That's when I realized this had never been about property lines. It was about control. So instead of arguing again, I met with a real estate attorney. After reviewing my paperwork, he smiled. "You've done everything correctly. Now let me show you something." He spread another map across his desk. "You can legally install a privacy fence directly on the surveyed property line." I looked at him. Completely legal. 100%. As long as permits are approved. The idea wasn't revenge. It wasn't about making Karen angry. It was about eliminating future arguments once and for all. The following week, contractors arrived. They unloaded beautiful cedar fence panels and carefully measured every post location using the certified survey. Within 20 minutes, Karen stormed across the street. "You can't build that fence." The contractor calmly handed her a copy of the survey. She shoved it back. "My measurements say otherwise." The contractor smiled politely. "County measurements are the only ones that matter." Karen immediately called the HOA. Then she called the county. The next afternoon, a county inspector arrived. Karen looked absolutely thrilled. She was convinced construction would be stopped. The inspector reviewed the permits, measured the fence, checked the setbacks, compared everything to the survey. Nearly 40 minutes later, he walked toward us. "The project fully complies with county regulations." Karen blinked. "What?" "The permits are valid. The fence is legal. The property line matches the county survey. There are no violations." She stood there completely speechless. The inspector shook my hand before driving away. Construction continued. Within 2 days, the fence was finished. It looked fantastic. More importantly, it permanently established a legal property boundary. A few days later, Karen demanded an emergency HOA board meeting. She insisted my fence was ruining the neighborhood. Rachel and I attended with a binder full of documents, certified surveys, county permits, inspection reports, property deeds, everything. Karen spoke first. For nearly 20 minutes she complained about the fence. Then the HOA president turned toward me. "Mr. Carter." I quietly placed every legal document on the conference table. The board reviewed each page carefully. No one interrupted. After several minutes, the president looked up. "The county survey is legally controlling. The permits were properly issued. The inspection passed. There is no HOA violation." Then something unexpected happened. Several neighbors spoke up. They explained how Karen had spent years filing complaints against multiple homeowners. One neighbor joked that she probably knew more about everyone else's property than her own. The room actually laughed. Karen didn't. The board unanimously dismissed every remaining complaint. As Rachel and I walked out of the meeting, one elderly neighbor stopped me. "You handled that the right way." I smiled. "I almost didn't." He nodded. "That's why you won." Months have passed since then. Karen still lives across the street. But something changed after that meeting. The complaints stopped. The constant phone calls stopped. The neighborhood became peaceful again. Looking back, I learned something important. You don't beat unreasonable people by becoming unreasonable yourself. You beat them with patience, facts, documentation, and by letting the law speak louder than emotions. Sometimes the strongest response isn't the loudest one. Sometimes it's simply knowing your rights and refusing to let anyone intimidate you into giving them up. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more HOA drama, and let me know in the comments. Where are you watching from today?